Hey, what's up guys? Ben Milliken here for Mystery Tackle Box, and today we're going to be talking about how to use a football jig to target offshore bass. So let's talk about a couple of features of this all-terrain football jig out of the package that I really like. You know, without a doubt, the most important thing to me when fishing a football jig, or really any jig for that matter, is the hook that's on the jig. You know, this one has a perfect medium bend wire hook. And what I mean by that is it's not too stout to where at the end of the cast, you're gonna set the hook on a fish and it just can't get a good hook penetration because that gauge is too thick. But it's also not too light to where if you get a fish at the boat that surges or something, it's gonna straighten out. So it has a nice, perfect medium balance there. So a really unique feature of this all-terrain football jig is this ridged head design. You know, and that'll do two things. You know, first off, when that thing's grinding on that hard cover on the bottom of the lake, it's gonna create a lot more disturbance than if it was a round head football jig. And those fish are used to seeing crawdads, you know, shoot around on the bottom, really cause a lot of ruckus down there when they're feeding on them. The second thing that'll do, those ridges will actually catch on any hard bottom on the rock, and it'll cause that jig to roll up even more than a regular football jig would, which pops that trailer up into a defensive position, which will allow for some more bites as well. This jig comes in a really wide variety of different colors, and it comes in three sizes: 3/8 ounce, ½ ounce, and 3/4 ounce. So when do I like to use each size? Well, 3/8 ounce I really like for shallow water, obviously. So anything less than 8 feet of water, I'll pull out the 3/8 ounce and get to dragging that thing. Anything between 8 feet and 12 to 15 feet, I really like a ½ ounce jig head. So that'll get you down in that area, really allow for good bottom contact. You know, anything deeper than 12 to 15 feet, let's say, 3/4 ounce does the job for me. Like I said, you always want to maintain bottom contact and really get a good feel what's down there with a football jig. As far as rod, reel, and line combinations go for using a football jig, I almost exclusively use a 7.3 to 7'6" medium heavy or heavy powered rod with a moderate to moderate fast taper. Now what that more moderate taper does is it allows that rod to really load up on a long cast, so you can bomb that bait way out there. And I feel like when you set the hook on a fish, it really loads up nice on the rod and lets that lighter wire hook penetrate that fish's mouth good and really keep them pinned throughout the fight. You know, as far as what reel to use with a football jig, I really like a high-speed reel, 7-to-1 gear ratio. I don't like a 5 or 6 speed reel because I feel like a fish can pick a bait up a long ways away. It's hard to pick up that much slack, or a lot of times they'll run sideways or at you with that bait and you just can't catch up to them. Now I also don't like a burner style reel like an 8 or 9-to-1 gear ratio because you need as much leverage as you can get when hoisting those fish up from the depths, especially the over 5-pound fish. 7-to-1 is a perfect gear ratio for me. You know, as far as what line I like to use with a football jig, it's fluorocarbon 100% of the time. I don't like braid or monofilament for the main reason that they float. Fluorocarbon line will sink and give you a direct contact to your bait. This allows you to feel everything that's down there or when a fish picks up that bait, and I specifically like a fluorocarbon line with the least amount of stretch as possible, because when you set the hook into that fish on a long cast, you don't want your line to be stretching at all. Hopefully these tips I've shared with you guys will help you go find and catch more big offshore bass while it's still hot outside this summer. Get out there and drag one of these football jigs around. You can catch your biggest bass of the year.